All right, we keep working with animation. I am playing with the skull. I am going to color it. And because the skull is all in grayscale, how do you color it? I went to Image, Adjustments, Color, or Hue Saturation. And in order to color it, I have to click on Colorize. And you'll see it will give it a color. Then I can pick the spectrum of the color. I want it to go towards yellows. But I'm going to make it really, really subtle to begin with. All right. And now this is my frame. Oh, I got to change the background more. And I might play not just with slumping the background. I'm going to duplicate it, right? I've been warping it down, but maybe changing the color of the backgrounds to be more purple. Ooh, I have an idea. What if the background becomes the cloak around Skeletor's skull? Now I got to be careful as I warp it. I still have to pay attention to the edges. So edges really matter too, because even if you don't see them in single images, you'll see it when it's moving. So then I got to play with the opacity a little bit. And I'm going to start playing with the color a little bit. So for that, I go to Image Adjustment. Let's try Hue Saturation. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll colorize it. And I'm going to try to make this more purple. There we go. It's all a little bit more purple. Okay. So from this now to this, maybe I take that opacity down a bit. It's tough when you're using blending modes because it can be kind of unpredictable what opacity does. But you can see it's more purple now. Okay. Good, I got my frame. Top layer. Hold down Option, Layer, Merge Visible. Command A to select it all. Command C to copy it all. Click on the stage. Command V, paste it in. Now I already have my next one set up. Go back to my assets, Command D to deselect, and then clear that combined layer so I can see what I'm doing. It should all make sense to you. The face drops. I'm going to float the skull a little bit. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to start seeding this in. So how do I do that? I'm going to make a duplicate of my Skeletor guy, turn off the Smart Object, going to rasterize it, and I'm going to shrink him down using Option and center him on this skull. So I can use opacity to line it up. And that works pretty well. Okay, and now I'm just going to really have it be very, very subtle. About 10% opacity. And then I'm going to jiggle my skull around and make it a little bit yellower by duplicating it, moving it up and over a bit, and playing with its hue saturation. Again, colorize, take it towards the yellows, then play with the brightness. It's going to be kind of this weird glow. All right, and then I gotta move the Skeletor underneath the falling face, so it still feels like it's being revealed. And now I need to still mess with the background. So a lot of factors, always changing. You're understanding what you're animating, what you're changing. And I'm going to warp this. And now I'm going to start kind of sinking it down and around, but I need it to still go to the edges. But it's going to kind of gather towards the middle. I got to watch that top edge too. Gather towards the middle. Watch that side edge. Okay. So from there to there. Yeah, we're getting somewhere. Maybe I'll move the Skeletor just a bit. Where is he? Lots of layers. Just use my arrow keys just to get that nose where I want it. Okay. And now I do my whole thing. Click on the topmost visible layer, Option, Layer Merge Visible. Command A to select it all, Command C to copy it all. Click on the stage, Command V, paste it. And click back on the assets, Command D to deselect, and then delete. And now I think I only need one more of this face falling, and I'm not even going to warp it anymore. I'm just going to drop it. Boom. Maybe shrink it. Okay, and now the skull is revealed. And I'm going to up the percentage of Skeletor to about 20. Right? And I'm going to move the skull just a little bit over. And I'm going to play with its color. And again, I'm going to colorize, and I'm going to make it yellow. And leave it a little bit more saturated this time. And maybe I can play with a layer or a blending mode for the Skeletor. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I like to overlay on it. And then I can get away with maybe upping it more. Yeah, there we go. Very nice. Now I got to change the background. That's why I always like to check, so I can make sure I'm changing all of the things that I've been changing frame to frame. That's why it's called frame by frame animation. I'm going to play with the opacity, and I'm going to play with the color. And with the warping. Okay. So from this to this. Cool, I'm liking that yellow color coming through. So now I bring it over. Option, Layer, Merge Visible. Command A, Command C. Click on Stage, Command V. Click back on Assets, Command D to deselect, clear it. Now I can get rid of the head. I no longer need the face there anymore. And I'm going to duplicate the Skeletor. Make it a little bit stronger. Maybe 75. Then I'm going to duplicate the skull and move it a little bit, but start fading it out. And now the body needs to start dropping away. So make a duplicate of that body layer. And now I'm going to do something a little weird. I'm going to puppet warp it so I can make like the headless corpse fall away. In a comical way. So how do I do that? Edit, in case you want to know. Puppet warp. I'm going to anchor it down here. Anchor it at the neck. And then Just let it start to slump down. And if I want to be really comedic about it, which of course I do, it's a good way to end the class because it'll be the last thing we do. I'm going to use my brush and I'm just going to paint where the head was severed. So how do I do that? I use my color slider over here. I'm using the regular paintbrush. I'm going to find a nice kind of fleshy red. Kind of paint the stump, right? And then I have a pressure sensitive brush, but I'm going to go to slightly smaller and I can paint like little paint drips coming from it. Just so it looks a little uneven. Right? And then I can show the bone in the middle of the spine. And then really with very few pixels, I'm going to draw the outline around that spinal bone. Right? Okay, so what else do I need to change? The background. And I really hope this background works because I'm spending a lot of time with it, right? This inverted background. So it goes from here to here. Is the body changing much? It's kind of hard to tell, but it is. Okay, and now the background. This looks like mystical runes, or it's basically a special effect. I'm gonna play with the opacity. I'm going to play with the color. And then I got to play with the warping of it. And T, warp. And finally getting it to where there's just going to be kind of a cloak around what becomes Skeletor. Okay, from here to here. And then let's end it with an animation test. So I'm going to bring this last frame over. Save my work, but now Option, Layer, Merge Visible. Right? Command A, Command C, go over to my stage, paste it in. This is now my 19th frame. Go back to my assets, Command D to deselect and then delete. Save my assets, go to my stage, save my stage. Now I'm going to run a timeline animation test. Go to Window, Timeline, click on the timeline window options. Say Make Frames from Layers. Get rid of the white by bringing it to the trash. Select all frames and set a timing. I've been using 0.3. Okay, then I like to do this. Just move it, start playing it, but then move it so you don't see the timeline. And I get to see that transformation. Now my one critique, it's hard to tell because the Skeletor isn't coming up, but the Skeletor maybe comes up a little strong there. But so far, what have I done? I've used my landscape. I've used my creature. I've used my cartoon, my line art jumble, and I'm starting to use my emoji. So I've used all of them so far. And it kind of makes sense. So that's a good place to end it. So before I stop, I'm going to, well, actually, I can just save it right with this. So we can pick it up, and I'll pick it up with the animation test and then the changes I want to make before I go into my last frames, which will show like the Skeletor head getting big and then it setting to reset. So that's where we got by the end of today, really showcasing the transformation, getting to the transformation part. And we save our stage, we save our assets, just Command S. We close Photoshop,